What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we'll be talking about rotation, what it is, what things are going to happen in Magic the Gathering Standard, how it affects Standard, things like that. Talk about how you can prepare for rotation when it does happen, what you can do now at the time of watching this video or in the near future. With that being said, guys, if you like the video, hit that like button. It definitely helps out a lot. If you're new here, want to post new videos on the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you do both of these, it puts a +1/+1 counter on the channel, which definitely helps out the YouTube algorithm. With that being said, let's dive into rotation and let's talk about it. So I'm actually here in the pack screen because I do think that this is the best way to kind of, visually show you what cards and what packs are going to be rotating out of Standard as a whole. If you didn't know, if you notice at the top of the pack screen, you do actually see that there's packs that are kind of like highlighted in kind of gray if you're not selected on them, and then you also see ones that are also bronze. So essentially what will happen is that the last 4 sets of MTG Standard will rotate out of the format Standard as a whole, and we'll move on to a new year of Standard, which essentially allows the meta as a whole to be freshened up. Allows new cards to kind of thrive where maybe they don't seem as good currently. It lets also other mechanics of other sets that have been released kind of also thrive, as personally I do think that sets that have come out since prior to Zendikar Rising have kind of more so dominated overall as a whole than the more recent stuff. I do, as much as some of the cards have kind of made their way into some decks that have existed, not really any decks have come out of, Zendikar Rising, Call Time, and or Strixhaven. Though I do think Witherbloom is kind of a fun deck. I do play it myself. I do think maybe it can have a spot. I don't really know. Let me down in the comments below what deck you're kind of like looking at, maybe that you may have crafted from one of these newer sets. But with that being said, it definitely creates a new fresh meta. Like I was saying before, there's some decks that I've seen since I've started playing MTG Arena that I'm just sick of, and I can't wait for them to rotate out, whether they were in some version before the prior rotation or even in their current form. I'm talking to you, Mono Red. You know who who I'm talking about. It's definitely gonna be interesting to see how some of these decks are gonna prosper even with these cards being rotated out. But yet again, like I said, these cards aren't lost. They're just gonna get moved over into an older format. They're gonna move, at least in Arena, they'll be considered historic, so you can play them in historic format, so the cards aren't wasted. Though you don't really get any way to cash them in to possibly get currency, then craft new Standard cards. So that's the one downfall. But if you prepare in advance enough, you can definitely prepare to kind of save yourself some currency, save yourself some time. Prepare in that sense. So I'm going to move on to my next point, which is how to prepare for these things. So the one thing I would suggest if you're looking to build a deck, maybe you're looking to build the latest, greatest net deck or whatever it is, or you saw your favorite YouTube creator create a deck, I would actually probably look at the overall, deck list as a whole and look at what cards and what sets, you need to get cards from in order to craft that particular deck. If you're seeing a deck that consists of a lot of cards from M21, Ikoria, Theros, Throne of Eldraine, I'd possibly hold off on it, especially if you're someone who's very limited on currency and can't get enough, can't just go out and buy packs, get back the wild cards you may have wasted, just because these cards in the next 4 months are going to be moving over into historic format. So if you're someone who's limited on a budget, I would suggest maybe holding off on crafting that deck and just waiting it out. I know waiting kind of sucks, especially if you kind of bored playing the current deck you are playing. Maybe try to look for another option, or maybe just kind of like explore and try to find a deck list that may be popped up. Maybe like I said, I try my best to post some videos. Like I just posted my Witherbloom deck. I know there's some older cards in there, but I'm gonna probably look in the near future as we get closer and closer to September. I'll probably be posting videos on post rotation proof decks. Another thing that's actually kind of interesting that happens in Arena that they do that they at least did last year is that they also will freshen up the starter deck. So if you're someone who's on a budget, don't worry. The starter decks you are currently playing, if you're just playing starter decks, will probably get a freshen up of some sort. So we'll get some stuff that'll be kind of like more corresponding around with the last year's sets. So you get stuff around Strixhaven, you get stuff around Call Time, you get stuff around Zendikar Rising. That's kind of what, if you ever notice, some of the starter decks you do have are kind of focused around a mechanic from a particular set. And in doing so, we'll kind of get some of those decks as well from those sets to kind of help you out. So if you're someone who does like these starter decks, you'll get new ones that you'll be able to play in Standard, which is definitely very good. I don't think the other like monocolor decks are going to change too much, because I think they specifically made those decks with those Arena symbol cards for specifically so they don't have to rotate out. But the other ones probably will. So the one thing I would suggest to do, so you don't have to go back and actually unlock these decks, is if you haven't completed the color challenge as a whole, I would go ahead and complete it. Because if you already had completed it last year and you played the game or logged in before a certain date, you got all this, you got them for free. You didn't have to like worry about like having to play anything or create a new account or whatever it is. The other thing I would suggest too is make sure you log on as you kind of hear them announce that things are going to happen in MTG Arena, because last year they did give out like this renewal egg, I guess, just for appreciation for people who played the game last year. It kind of came with some free packs of Zendikar Rise, and I think it came with a pack of sleeves, and I think maybe some wild currency. I'm not 100% sure. I couldn't find exactly what it was. I just saw stuff talking about it, but not really talk about what you got. So definitely, it's one of those things. I think you log on by a certain date. As long as you log in once, you'll kind of be able to get the stuff for free. The other thing I would suggest to do is if you ever see anything pop up in MTG Arena, just recently, I know in Quick Drafts, there was an Ikoria Quick Draft. I do think that's rotating eventually back to Strixhaven, but I would probably hold off on doing any drafts on sets that are older that are going to be rotating, because you're going to be drafting, spending your currency into a set that eventually will rotate out, and all these cards you just collected and the packs you may have gotten from the rewards are now going to be wasted. And that kind of moves on to my other point. I'd probably focus on building up your collections in the more recent sets. If you're someone who's just new to the game, I would focus on getting cards from Zendikar, getting cards from Call Time, getting cards from Strixhaven. When the new D&D set comes out in the summer, in July, I would also focus on getting cards from that. Drafting is one of the best ways to kind of get a collection of these particular sets, just because you get 15 packs per pack. You get to kind of curate the packs you want to build the deck that you can play in this limited format, and then go about possibly winning even more packs from winning or getting X amount of wins in that particular draft, as well as getting currency to then maybe even purchase packs or re-enter a draft to then do it all over again. So that is kind of like my ways of preparing. And like I said, myself, I'll probably be posting some decks as we get kind of closer and closer to this rotation, because last year one rotation happened right after the July set came out. They actually added a format to the Arena client, which essentially was a post-rotation format that included just the the M21. It included all of this stuff before Zendikar Rising. So it's a format where you can mess around if you're trying to figure out what deck you want to create or tweak a deck that you want to create post rotation. You kind of have some time to do that before everything kind of officially resets come September. Though at the same time too, it doesn't start in July. You have until September to still play your old decks if you have cards that are from your older decks. So don't worry there. Now, the one thing I want to point out that is kind of new to this year compared to last year is that Magic, or Wizards of the Coast, has actually moved up the set that normally would come out in July for Standard actually up into November. So we're going to be getting a new set in November. So we're actually going to get 2 new sets to the Standard rotation, which is definitely kind of interesting, which is going to mean the first set that comes out in September, and we're only going to be 2 months apart till the next set comes out, which is definitely going to be interesting, because normally we have like the September to the 1st January set is actually like a 4-month period, but I guess maybe post Christmas or the holidays or whatever, I guess it's kind of a tight time frame to kind of create a set and like make it and then post it. So that is kind of one of those interesting things. So definitely this year is going to be a little bit different. I do think it's going to be interesting to kind of see what's going to develop immediately, but we're actually going to have a decent amount of sets pretty quickly in Standard as a whole. Like I said, I'm not really sure what's going to come out of Standard, what's going to be the best deck come rotation. If you guys have any ideas of what you're thinking, down in the comments below, leave a comment. I definitely like to answer them or give my feedback back maybe on what you say. If you have any questions about rotation, I also will do my best to answer them depending on what the question is. If you're new here, want to post new videos on the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, hit that like button, but I'll see you in the next Magic the Gathering video.